Good evening and welcome to the Bennington Select Board meeting of August 23rd, 2021. I am Jeannie Jenkins, chair of this board, and I'd love for my fellow board members to introduce themselves, starting with Bruce.
Good evening, everybody. Bruce Lee Clark here.
Good evening, I'm Jim Carroll.
Hi, I'm Jean Connor.
Hi, Tom Haley.
Hi there, I'm Gary Corey.
Excellent. I'd also like to just say hello to Sarah Perrin, who is watching the meeting from home while she is recovering from surgery. She's keeping up with all the information, she's getting the packet, she's asking questions when needed, and we miss her very much and hope that she will be back very, very soon. We also have with us tonight Stu Hurd, town manager, Nancy Lively, who takes excellent minutes for us, and Josh Boucher from CAT TV. So thank you all very much. We want to remind everyone that if you are not vaccinated, you should be, we ask that you wear a mask and that you also socially distance. You can socially distance even if you are vaccinated. Chairs in the room are set up so that there is enough space so that you should not be in each other's immediate airspace. And we have disinfectants, which I guess are going to go to the podium any minute, so that you can wipe down the microphone if you wish when you speak. So from there, Jim, I'm going to ask, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Jean, would you read the vision statement that helps guide our work?
Sure. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you, Jean. All right, so next up is the consent agenda for the purposes of discussion. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Bruce. All right, so any questions or comments for either Stuart on the warrants or Nancy Lively on the minutes that have not already been addressed? No? All right. Then I'll call a vote. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? All right, great. All right, so we're going to move on to public comment, and we have one public comment tonight, which is Bruce Learman to talk about window dressers. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm the local coordinator for a program called Window Dressers. Window Dressers is a nonprofit 501c3 organization headquartered in Maine, and they do workshops in Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. We've joined this group to help people save money on heating costs this winter and to help weatherize their houses. It's all right with you, I'll remove my mask for this moment. Now this is a window insert. It goes inside your windows to cut off drafts and to provide 2 additional dead air spaces inside the window to provide energy savings. You're welcome to look at that in more detail later on if you like. It cuts off drafts, provides the dead air space. They last for about 10 years, and if one gets damaged, we'll rebuild it for you at minimal cost. The inserts are very inexpensive because volunteers like me are going to build them. And we're going to build them right here in Bennington in November. The workshop will be in the Bennington Makers Space on Main Street. Our goal is to get as many of these inserts as possible into drafty, cold windows in our community. Anybody can sign up for the inserts. Residential or commercial buildings are all subject to these advantages. We'll schedule a visit if you sign up, and then we'll come and measure your windows for a custom fit. We'll give you a price at the visit after we measure, and there is special pricing available for those who might need it. We want everybody to be part of this program. If you sign up, we'll ask you to volunteer some time to help build the inserts. Volunteers who don't sign up are still welcome, believe me. We'd love to have you help join us in the workshop, which is really a community affair. And donations, of course, are welcome because they help us support our low pricing. This is a community-level approach to weatherization. Everyone gets together and builds all the inserts in an assembly line workshop. The workshops are fun. You don't need any special skills. We can teach you the jobs you need to do in about 10 minutes. And we expect that we will build about 200 inserts at the workshop this November. There will be volunteer teams in over a dozen other communities in Vermont building similar numbers of inserts. You can sign up at windowdressers.org or at our local website. I have some cards here that will explain to you all the points of contact for the Window Dressers program. And I have plenty of those cards available. And if you like, I can even sign you up tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Bruce. Any questions on window dressers? Jean?
I just want to make sure I understand what you mean by inside the window. You mean on the inside, it's on the
room.
Interior of your home?
Yes.
Okay.
In the room. The inserts are held in place by the foam area around, and you just push them in for the winter. When you want to take them out in the spring, there are pull tabs on the bottom, and you pull them back out.
And you can use them again next year.
You can use them again next year.
Can you
as I say, if the cat punches a hole in one, we'll rebuild it for you at the next workshop for a minimal cost.
Can you just give those of us who are listening a sense of, like, let's just say what that one would cost?
That's about a $40 insert.
40, okay.
Okay.
And do you have a date for the workshop?
Yes, we'll start actually assembling the windows on November 4th. We'll be doing it for 4 continuous days after that time. You can sign up for volunteer shifts in the morning or evening of any of those days. And you can also volunteer to provide food in lieu of working in one of the workshops.
I got a question.
Thank you.
Jim?
Now, on a window, if it's double hung, do you make 2 pieces of?
This covers the whole double hung window.
Okay.
Because it fits inside on the frame of the window.
Okay.
And doesn't overlap the sashes.
Okay, thanks.
Bruce?
Do I understand if, I'm just thinking about possible assistance for people who might need it, or for people who insert, let's say, get 4 or 5 or 6 of them, special assistance from the state by any chance, from like
Better than that.
Efficiency Vermont?
As a matter of fact, if you pay something toward your insert, you can get a rebate of up to $100 back from Efficiency Vermont. And we can provide you with the paperwork to do that. It's a very simple application because it's under the Efficiency Vermont Do-It-Yourself program.
And in addition to that, just because Mary Rogers and I are the Bennington volunteer coordinators, so we would love for you to help. If you are unable to pay, we have been collecting scholarship money so that it could be either less than the $40 for that size window or completely free, depending on your circumstances. So the idea is to get as many inserts in people's homes as possible.
Yeah, I just have one more comment. I think I'm correct. Someone doesn't need to do every single window. They could do their 2 worst windows.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
In fact, when we come for the measurement visit, we'll assess the windows and advise you, this is a good one, these you probably don't need them. So then we'll settle on which windows we're going to do, and that's what we'll give you the price for.
Okay.
Super. So if there's anyone in the audience that wants to sign up tonight, you've got a captive audience right here. Thank you, Bruce.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, so that was exciting. So we're going to move on to community policing, and we have 4 items tonight. We have a second reading of employee nepotism and fraternization, first reading of code of conduct, and then even though we already adopted a use of force policy, the state has come out with its own policy. So Bruce is going to talk about those 3 things, and then Jean is going to provide an update on the application to the task force. So Bruce.
So you all have the employee nepotism and fraternization. We've had that now for several weeks. I haven't really gotten a lot of feedback. I made a couple of minor typographical types changes, or easier changes. I am moving its adoption.
Do you hear a second?
Second.
Excellent. Any more discussion? No? Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? All right, excellent. So we now have a nepotism and fraternization policy, and we don't have to say that word anymore. It's hard. Okay.
No, I will thank one more time.
Oh, please.
Lon McClintock, Kate Canning, Carol Lusa, and John Dyke
Excellent.
for their work on that. Let's see. And on the code of conduct for a first reading, I'm going to thank first Lynn Mazza, Beth Sauceville, Peter Lawrence, and Lauren Wilcox, as well as Dan Ferrara, Dan Monks, and myself, for working on the code of conduct. This has been to our town attorney, and for the most part, she left this alone. Just reminded me that we ought to spell out what PAVE and BCIL stand for, et cetera, SVFC. Otherwise, I'm open for comments. Basically, let me just say a little bit about what this is for. Almost every police department I've ever known has a code of conduct. It is sort of the fundamentals of how we expect our law enforcement to behave. And so you can see it really does talk about performance. It does talk about discretion. We do want officers to exercise discretion. They are not robots or automatons. They don't have to act. Sometimes the best action is no action, and sometimes you really do need to act. So there's a variety of things. I can recall at one point, I think I was on my way, not in this town, but in another town, to the hospital, where I was attending an emergency situation, and I thought I was going just under the speed limit. The Syracuse Police Department thought I was going just over the speed limit, but when he heard why I was heading and where I was heading, said immediately, just try to go as carefully as you can, and I've already held you long enough. So, you know, that's what we mean by discretion, at least in part. I'll take any comments now, or I will take any comments as they may occur to you over the next week and a half, or no, actually 2 weeks and a half. Mm-hmm. This is one of those meeting interims where we have one extra week. So please, if anybody wishes to, you can contact me through my town email. And
does anyone have any questions?
Any questions
or comments? Yes, Tom.
Just quickly, page 4, line 14. It's the Vermont Center for Independent Living, not council.
Hang on, let me get to
line 14.
Yep, page 4, line 14.
Oh, center, right. You know, interestingly, I typed that right off there. But I'm happy to change it to center because that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Tom, do you have any other comments? Okay. I have a couple. So I'm wondering, this is foreshadowing the use of force statewide policy, but should we mark through duty to intervene in the
Yes.
related policies?
Right.
And then on page 5 of 5, I think both of these are typos, but on line 4, should it be BPD rather than BOD?
Oh, I saw that too. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then on line 14, I think it should be maintaining. Do a gerund rather than maintain. But I didn't have any concerns about.
Which one?
14. So a member's character and conduct while off duty must always be exemplary, thus maintaining a position of respect in the
Yes.
community? Okay.
Or just say and maintain?
Oh, it could be and maintain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be better. I think that's better. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're an English major, right? Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? All right, and so we do have quite, let's see, Stuart, when is so we have until like the 6th of September, or is it?
Yeah, it would be the Wednesday before the 13th, so.
So
it's
the
gonna
6th
be
of September, so
probably
you have
closer to
time.
the 8th or
Okay,
7th or 8th of September.
But
Okay.
if people get their comments to me by right around Labor Day or shortly thereafter, that will make the loss of hair to be just slightly lower. That's just a...
and we all want that for you, Bruce.
Ah,
All right,
sure.
all right, statewide policy.
Yes, the statewide, okay. Pursuant to some action by the Vermont State Legislature, there is a statewide now model policy that must be adopted by all police departments, law enforcement departments within the state of Vermont. It was developed, it's about, I think it's exactly at the moment 33 pages long. It will be available. It's available on the website through the.
It's in it's in the packet,
It's
yeah.
in the packet. That's
Yeah.
how it's available. We are not really free to change it. I will say, having read through it several times now, it really does in many ways mirror our policy that we adopted both in terms of, well, really in terms of fundamental definitions. The one place that what it does not talk about, it talks about use of force and not response to resistance, which actually I find favorable. The other positive is, and this was sent out to the committee that drafted ours back in September of 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
2020. And their responses, if they had any, were positive, that it was important that there be a statewide standard that every agency in the state understands and will follow. And so that consistency makes for better understanding. And with that, I would agree. The only place where I have any qualms is a 33-page document is really hard to absorb.
Well, so it includes, so we do want to make clear, this is policy and procedures.
All at once.
So it is that. It is also duty to intervene. So we had separated out use of force and duty to intervene, and this lumps them back in
Yes, it does.
together. So, yeah, so it's not quite as bad, yeah.
It's not quite as bad, but yes, it
But
is
it's long.
a
It's long.
lump together of policy and procedure, which is apparently one of the ways to do this. At any rate, it would be, I would move that we adopt it unless there's some objection.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Excellent. Any more discussion? No? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? All right, excellent.
The only question that I would ask is, when we're posting this, can we utilize the heading format that is the one that we've adopted for the others?
I think that we should ask Merrill that if we can make it consistent with our other policies. Is that something we can follow? Okay, let's ask.
I would think we could, but I just want to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do not want to run afoul of the law. All right, good. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Bruce. Jean, you're up.
Okay, so the application period for community members to apply to be interviewed for the task force for the Safety and Equity Board has closed. It closed Friday at 5 o'clock, and I'm happy to report that we have more than enough applicants. I believe there's 14 completed. Thank you very much to everyone who stepped up to participate in that process. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank the office staff in the town office for really doing a lot of work to help us as far as managing the documents as they came in and keeping us informed and helping reserve the room and the dates, and they've just really, really been very helpful. We couldn't do this without them, so thank you to them. The interviews are going to be happening in early to mid-September, and Jeannie, myself, and Bruce are in the process of writing the interview questions, which will be consistent for every single candidate. Let's see, and so I guess assuming everything goes as planned, the task force will be chosen by the end of September.
The week of September
20th. September 20th, so we're moving right along, and again, thank you to the applicants and thank you to the town staff.
Great, thank you. Any questions from anyone? Comments? All right. All right, we're good then. Let's move on to COVID-related issues. And this is really on the agenda because things are changing. I'm looking out and we have, CAT TV staff with masks on and other members of the, community that are here with masks on. We have been in close contact with Dr. Trey Dobson, who's the Chief Medical Officer at the hospital. I will say everyone at this table has been fully vaccinated. We strongly believe that this is an important step in slowing the spread of COVID. The Rutland Herald had a very good opinion piece today in the Banner calling for return of universal indoor masking. We did include an email from Trey in the packet in which he is encouraging us to encourage everyone to wear a mask. And so one of the things I think we may want to think about, we should think about, is whether we should return to wearing masks indoors for these meetings and require or strongly ask the public to as well. We have checked with our town council, who has told us that we can set a separate area of the room for those who choose or cannot be masked so that they are protected, from the general public, and also, it's more protective for others as well. So so really this was a time to have more discussion. There is, this afternoon, Stuart forwarded an email from Paul Dansereau, who has been tracking this for the town. As anyone who's been to the town office knows, there is you're supposed to go in the front door. There is a big sign on the front door that says, if you are not vaccinated, please wear a mask. Please be respectful of those around you. And to the extent possible, we've been trying to use large spaces like this for meetings and have had some small meetings in the conference room with groups of people that are fully vaccinated. So we wanted to open this up and just get a sense. We will have Trey with us on the 13th, but if we feel like we may need to make a decision before then because of changes in just what's happening in the community. But we wanted to give you a chance to voice any concerns or questions or thoughts that you have, and also the same for the public that is here. So anyone?
Well, I've adopted wearing a mask when I go into just about any enclosed space. You know, number one, out of consideration, and frankly, out of not wanting to put the Delta variant into my lungs or give it to anybody else. So I think it's kind of a good idea until this is under control. I don't know what.
Are you proposing to do it here?
Sure. I'd be curious if, I wish Dr. Dobson were here, if he could tell us, you know, what's the level of the Delta variant?
Well, we actually know that from Paul Dansereau. So here's the information. So Paul shared that factors that he used in making the recommendation not to change anything at the town office thus far is that the Vermont Department of Health Protect Yourself and Others guidance has not changed from last week. Current Bennington County vaccination rate is 80.4% of eligible population, which is 12 years and older. State of Vermont vaccination rate is 85.1% of eligible population, 12 years and older. The current Bennington County 4-day new cases of COVID is 73, and that this is consistent with neighboring counties, and that the state of Vermont 7-day average positivity rate is 3%. So, you know, I think we're all in that same place. Bruce, I saw you nodding your head. Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I had my mask with me, and then I made a decision not to here, but I do everywhere else indoors, and I actually don't have a problem. We're as much as possible, you could put it any other way, on the cusp. We're right on that spot where I think indoor mask wearing in spaces like this should be essential, and I think for public safety purposes, I don't have an objection at all to it, and would urge us to move, particularly if this gets any worse. But Bennington County, it's a serious transmission rate right now.
Yep. Other thoughts? Yes, June.
I guess I'd just like to say two things. One is a personal experience I recently had. I was exposed to someone who came back with a positive COVID test. Thankfully, I tested negative, as did everyone else. But I really think what saved us all, because she was at the most contagious point in her illness when we were together, was we were outside. And so that just really drove it home. I don't know what the outcome would have been if we had been inside, but we weren't. So I just want to really express eating, socializing outside is probably a good idea again. And as far as wearing a mask, and let's just all admit it, no one likes it, but there is no downside to wearing your mask other than it's a little uncomfortable. But there most definitely could be a downside to not wear your mask. I have mine here too, Bruce. Yep. I am perfectly happy to wear a mask. I have no problem whatsoever wearing a mask, and I think I will, no matter what we decide, will be wearing my mask. I'm wearing my mask anytime I walk in any place, again, these days, so that's how I feel.
Tom?
Yeah, I've gone back to wearing masks at the grocery store and so forth and inside. And what really was the decision maker for me is, as I was thinking of it, you know, we wear these masks for protection of other people. They don't really help you from getting COVID, but they can help you from giving COVID. And I don't have the right to get somebody else sick, is what it came down to, and that's why I made that call. You know, it's kind of like, you know, I saw a comparison to to drunk drivers the other day. You have a right to drive, but you don't have your right to get behind the wheel when you're intoxicated because you're endangering other people. And that's where I take the mask stance from. I don't have the right to put somebody else in danger. So that's, yeah, I would favor wearing them indoors.
Okay. Gary?
When I start to look at the numbers that we're talking about, 18, 19 people a day, it makes me concerned that we're going to see that continue. And I think it's just smart for us to protect ourselves, protect other people around us,
Right.
and wear a mask.
All right. It sounds like we're all in agreement. Anyone in, yeah, please come up. Mask-wearing individual.
Surprised. I just want to let the board know
Introduce.
that my name is Michael McDonough. Apologize. I'm speaking here with regards to the Better Bennington Corporation. We have instituted a mask requirement at the BBC. Our principal motivation is the fact that we deal with visitors from anywhere and everywhere. But it also serves ourselves. We're going to be masking at all of our board meetings and our committee meetings as well. I don't offer that to sway anyone's opinions, but I just wanted the board to be informed that we had made that decision.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Second masked individual.
Hi, Jim Byers, Cat TV, Bennington, Vermont. I'm speaking for myself, though. I love governance. That's why I do what I do. And everybody here, no matter where we sit on an aisle on any issue, we're here because we are engaged. We love governance, we love the people of Bennington, and we love Vermont. And I'm sorry, but I'm a little emotional about this. I ask, like Tom said, because it's my duty to protect my wife at home because she's had a transplant, protect myself because I have PAD, and to protect the people that I love, and that's Bennington. Part of governance is making the hard decisions, the unpopular decisions. We have the data. We know the transmission rates. We know that there's a certain percentage of the population who cannot get vaccinated, especially our youngsters. And we're now finding out with Delta that our youngsters are catching this, which we never even thought of that was going to be possible at the beginning of this. I definitely do not have a right to give COVID to a kindergartner because I happen to be at a school board meeting and somebody brings their child and it becomes a spreader event. Of course, the board needs to make the decision after deliberation of what you want to do, but we're heading in that direction. I think we're all intelligent people and we know the writing on the wall. Thank you, that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Jim. All right. Would someone like to make a motion? I'm thinking are we looking at moving forward on our meetings, asking for everyone to be masked, which will include us, and setting aside an area for those who cannot or choose not to wear a mask? Yes.
Do you want to make the motion?
Sure.
I have another question.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll make that motion. Actually, no. Look, can I just ask a question first?
Sure.
Because we want
Go
to
ahead.
add it.
Yeah.
Should we also, in addition to being masked, should we be distanced at the table as well?
It's up to us.
It's a good question. I don't, at the present time, I would say, no, that's probably not necessary.
Because we're all
because we all are vaccinated.
Okay.
But the masking, I think, would be a great message to send to the community and to the people at large.
Okay.
All right. Did you want to make a motion?
Sure.
Or Gary, go ahead.
Just thinking it might be a good question to ask Trey of whether we should or shouldn't separate.
Yeah, so Trey's email, he made the recommendation that ask everyone to wear masks at indoor public forums and masks are not required at outdoor events. They're not required at private indoor meetings where all participants are vaccinated, and to avoid a municipal mask mandate, which he, I think, is willing to talk with us about on the 13th. So he is recommending that we do, I think, what we're contemplating doing here, which is to strongly suggest masking in an indoor environment. Is that
No, what I was
answer,
worried
or
about
no?
was the 6-foot distance. So Tom
That's an excellent point.
leaning to the side.
That's an excellent point. Yes.
That's more what I was talking about,
Okay.
rather than just the mask.
Okay. Gary, that's great. So we'll make sure that we let him know that that question is one of our questions for the 13th. All right.
So I'd like to make a motion that starting at our next select board meeting, we will ask everyone present, including the select board, to wear their masks.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? All right.
Question,
Yes.
is that effective immediately? Because there may be meetings, public meetings that are held before we meet again on the 13th.
What did you say?
I said I was addressing the emotion to our meetings. I didn't propose
Because
to be.
we have DBA and Planning Commission meetings that may come up in the interim.
Do we
I
want to
looked to
amend?
Dan to
Let's,
know.
Okay.
Yeah.
let's amend.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Pardon me?
We are instituting masks.
So they're all set?
Okay.
And so are all so for instance, the Energy Committee, are they masked?
Meeting remotely.
You're meeting remotely, okay. So, all right, so we're
Very good.
clear. Okay.
We can
Excellent.
always revote it
Okay.
if we needed to.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you all. All right, so next up is the manager's report with what might be another discussion in the middle of it. All right, Stuart.
Yes. The only action item I have tonight is a request by the Chamber for road closures related to Saturday, September 4th, Garlic Town. It's an event that will take place on one day only. They are seeking to close School Street from Main to Pleasant, the entire Valentine Street, and Depot Street from Main to the entrance to GBIX, which is very similar to what the Brewfest did 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. These would be closed from 6:30 a.m. until 6 p.m. To allow for the event to take place. If people recall, there were a number of locations where they're going to have cloves of groups selling garlic-related materials. Restaurants are going to be featuring garlic-related meals, and this brings the event downtown, which should help to involve all of our downtown merchants. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the closures as requested.
Can we, well, let's make the motion and then questions.
Yeah. I'll move that we adopt the motion as described in the
Second.
packet.
Excellent. Any discussion?
A question. I remember when we were talking about the Brewfest, there was a conflict with GBIX. Do you know if they've already had those conversations with them?
Matt Harrington has assured me that all impacted property owners will be notified. I don't know that they've actually done it yet, but they are in that process.
I'm wondering if we might want to amend the motion then. I'm a little concerned about voting for this when the affected
Right.
people have not been notified.
I agree.
And we need to do this before the next meeting.
Right. So can we condition our approval upon notification and needed conversations with abutting landowners?
That would be appreciated. That would allow them to get it done, and then we would put it in place.
Okay.
That's my motion then.
All right. Do we need a second for the amended? Yeah, okay.
So if the secretary got the sense of that. Thank you.
We're not making it easy for you. All right, so with the amended motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? All right, great. Wonderful.
One brief note here. You may recall that the town clerk's office and the Secretary of State's office were recently sued for voter fraud. That lawsuit has been dismissed by the courts. There is an appeal period, obviously, of 30 days, wherein the case may be brought to the Supreme Court, but given the decision to dismiss, I think it's pretty clear that there isn't any standing to go forward. So that is off the table. We're working very closely now with our senior center director. You've seen some of the information that she is now providing on numbers of participants. Today I received, and I did not have time to get it out to you all, the August report, as well as the names of those people who are involved in the various activities. Bingo and Bone Builders, obviously, are the two very important offerings. And we are starting to gather information about who's using the facility. Are there relationships between those members that are using the facility and members who already belong to the Y? Those kinds of information would be helpful to understand how our programs are positively impacting seniors. I found out that our director is on the listserv for the senior listserv programs, which is good news. She and I will be taking a tour of the Ben High facilities. We had hoped to do it this week. It depends on what happens with the weather. It's supposed to clear tomorrow, so we'll perhaps have a good chance to do so. With an eye to perhaps taking over the space that the Y is currently using for their children programs, because they are exploring other opportunities. Those spaces would be available. It includes a commercial kitchen and cafeteria, two spaces that are approximately 1,200 square feet in size each, which actually would give us more room than what we have on the second floor of the senior center. I have had a very short discussion with the new director of the Meals on Wheels, not the Meals on Wheels program, but Council on Aging, which supports Meals on Wheels. They are open to consideration of any meal site that works for the program. As you know, the Meals on Wheels program is a private nonprofit. They have their own board of directors. And although they receive a great deal of their funding through the Council on Aging, they are an independent organization. And at least to date, they've not been willing to seriously consider changing their location because they are directly adjacent to a senior housing complex. And they get a lot of folks from that area. So that is a consideration that they have. It may not be one that we have. Ultimately, if the space works for us, we can move and save money. That is the key. And at this point, we're just in the beginnings. We hope to be able to have some sort of a decision about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and what it will cost us when we get to budget time. So I'm looking to have, in my mind anyway, a decision by the end of November that I can put before you in December and for discussion in January.
Okay. You indicate, actually you indicated in here beginning of November, which actually is excellent because that would give us, I think, more time to talk about it at a board level before we get into serious budget time. I do want to add a few things, Stu.
Sure thing.
As you know, I did some fact-finding mission work last week, you know, so the first thing is that the senior center serves a really important function in our county. I did not realize that this is the only senior center in Bennington County. I just assumed, I'd always seen things, you know, Arlington Group or, a Cambridge, New York group, or up in Shaftesbury or Manchester. There are groups of seniors that may go out to lunch together, but we are the only designated senior center in the entire county, unlike Rutland County, which has 4 designated senior centers. So we really have an obligation to serve seniors for socialization purposes, for connection purposes, for really getting the word out to the full county, which I did not quite understand how serious, our obligation really is. And so, we have the data from Carrie for June and July, and it's not complete, but it gives us a good sense of use patterns. Carrie was very kind and shared her daily sign-in logs, which are paper logs, with me, and so I was able to pull some helpful data just so that as a board and a community, we know how many people are using it and who's using it. So the age range is almost entirely 70 to 89 years old, almost entirely. There are a few, the shoulders, there are a few 90-year-olds, in fact, 4 90-year-olds who come to the senior center, bingo, bone builders, sit and chat, so that's lovely. And then there's a small number of people between in their 50s and 60s that come, but the vast majority are 70 and 80-year-olds. Over 90% are women, which probably doesn't surprise any of us. A small number of men are using the center. Virtually all the participants are from Bennington. There were very few people from outside the town of Bennington. There were approximately 100 different individuals who used the center between the beginning of June and the end of July. And that included everything from coming to bingo or bone builders or painting to walking up the steps and asking a question. It also included people like me who came in and asked questions. So that's the entirety of anyone who had any sort of interaction with the senior center. More than 50% of the people who have done anything at the senior center have either attended bone builders or bingo. So those are definitely the 2 most popular programs. There's very little crossover in programming. So if you come for bingo, you don't also come for coffee. So there are a couple people that do that, but it was startling. The painting group was the painting group was really lovely to look at. It started with one person who is there every single time painting is offered, and I think he's been talking it up. So it had 4 people in June, it had 7 people in July, including a couple who come and paint together. It has more men than any other activity, hands down, which is sort of cool. But it's fun to look at sort of how things emerge. Cards are emerging as a new activity. It's not on the list as a formal activity yet, but clearly there's a card group starting and they're gaining momentum. I think, as you said, Stu, right now we don't have any idea how many people from the senior center are also using the YMCA, and using the rec center services, or the other way around. And in talking with other centers, particularly senior centers that are located in towns, one of the things they said was they talk it up. If you go to aquatics, then you hear about the senior center, or if you're at the senior center, you talk about, oh, you should try this other activity. So we have an opportunity for cross-promotion that we haven't fully realized yet. I've talked to a number of senior centers around the state. There are about 30 of them, as I think Stu alluded to, and everyone is in the process of reinventing. The new 50 is 70, so what used to work for an age range of 50 plus, now, as we see, and we're seeing that in Bennington, it doesn't serve everyone the way we would like it to. Rutland changed their name from senior center to adult center, just because they wanted to attract more people. The Rutland Senior Center hands out e-bikes. They have an e-bike rental. and they have a waiting list a mile long. So, I mean, you can just think about, that's very different than how we think about our senior center at present. The other thing that I think that was really interesting that we would want to think about is many of the centers are really working to be very inclusive. So they're serving broader populations, the disabilities community. Several centers hold fitness classes for individuals with Parkinson's disease. They work with their United Counseling Service and look at, just look at programming that's much more inclusive. And I think that could be really, really, really cool for us. I think the affiliation with the town is something that we really have advantages that many of the senior centers don't have. The senior centers I talk to that are part of town function are seamless. They're part of the Parks and Rec, or they're part of, the town budget. They're part of town programming. So it happens in different buildings, but it's not territorial. It's very much inclusive programming, and that really was very, very nice. During COVID, several of the senior centers were saying their staff went to work in a different location because the senior center was closed, but they were town staff, so they were used that way. So I think that's really useful for us to look at. If you want to see like a great example of seamless programming, Rutland's Parks and Rec, their adult center is called Godnick, Godnik. And if you Google the Godnick Center, they have their newsletter online. You can see it you can see it electronically. They also hand it out. But it has everything in it. It has swimming, fitness, meals, bingo, cards, and community events. So it includes, seamlessly, it just says, you want to go bird watching Saturday morning, here's where to join. If you need to get transportation, here's what the transportation looks like. I mean, so, I think it's a really neat model for us, and I think, everyone is reimagining what they're doing right now, so it's appropriate for us to be doing that as well. So,
is Godnick an acronym?
No, it's a name. It must have been somebody.
There's a big furniture store up there, Godnick's. It's a family.
Okay.
Gilbert Godnick.
He gave the money? Okay.
He was a very big name in
Okay.
Rutland.
Okay, good, because I was, okay. So, I do think, I'm happy that, Stuart, I'm happy that you are really delving into this. I think this is a big opportunity for us. And, with 30,000 people in the county, I don't know what percentage of them are seniors, but at least 10,000 of them are, right? We've got more than that. We have a lot of opportunity. So do you think, what is the plan with the November coming back to us? What will that look like?
Well, hopefully we would have a plan of what we're going to do, where we're going to be, and how we're going to manage to pay for it. That would be the plan.
So is there, where in there, the collaborations, it's more than collaboration, it's really seamless programming. Where will that thinking happen? Will that be part of that thinking?
It should happen along the way.
Okay. Anybody got questions about, or things that we want to make sure we think about as we go forward? Yeah.
I know that one of the things that came up when we were dealing with the fees for WISE was the definition of seniors, and I'm wondering, the more I've thought about it, the more I wonder whether an actual definition is important. I'm actually thinking, I'm not sure that at this point, well, I know I'm not ready to create a definition, but I'm not even sure I know whether there's any advantage to having a definition, and therefore we may want to go back and look at, in the long run, the way we set up fees at the Y, at the rec center. I know they have
Yeah.
a senior definition, but that doesn't mean I think we still deal with the fees, at least to some degree.
So, yeah, so I think, Rutland might be a model, and I'm sure, I haven't talked to Montpelier, but, they're probably interesting to talk to as well. There are mixed fee structures
Yep.
in Rutland, so if you're at the athletic center, what a senior is different. I think part of the reason the Godnick took off senior and just became adult is because they will serve anyone. So if someone has a disability, they may be 25, but benefit from bone builders.
Right.
So I think that what they're trying to do is break down those walls, and that may be something for us to think about. And you would pay a different fee to use the athletic center than you might use, to come to a yoga class
Right.
at the adult center. So, so I think all of that is fluid, and I think it is important for us to be thinking about what's our goal in the end.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyone, I know we have some people who use the senior center here. Do you have any thoughts about this as we're embarking on it? Things we should be thinking about? I know that the question has been raised that, what are we doing for seniors? And I think it's, we all felt like it was a really good question, and that is why we've been doing the work we're doing. So we understand the importance of it, but we want to make sure that we're serving as many people as we can. Any thoughts? Would you like to come up? And you're an active volunteer at the senior center, yes? No?
I hang out there.
You hang out, okay. Okay,
If I'm not home, I'm there.
okay. You want to introduce yourself?
Debbie Matt, I'm a Bennington resident, and I use the senior center very frequently. And I remember one time, there was a bingo game getting ready to play, and a young lady come in that looked of questionable senior age, and I couldn't believe the people that had a fit, that she wasn't old enough to be there. So I'm concerned about mixing the younger people with the older people, because a lot of them like the separate, they don't want to deal with the younger. And having the Meals on Wheels downstairs is a super plus. For the price, you can't beat it. You get a healthy meal, you can go down and eat, and then you can go back upstairs and do more functions or whatever. And they're on Thursday, they have craft day. We used to call it quilting, but now it's craft, open to other things besides quilting. And we don't really have anybody there for guidance to help with the crafting, because Carrie's the only one there. And if she doesn't have somebody that can cover the phones or whatever, whatnot, and she can't be in helping somebody with an issue, she just kind of running back and forth. So I haven't visited any other senior places to compare what they do, but I know a lot of the ladies are very set in their way up there. And if you move it, it'll be a hardship for people to go get the healthy meal.
Yeah, yeah, and Meals on Wheels is a real asset to have that co-located, and that is definitely something that is part of the consideration. And one of the things that I saw in calling around is that we are one of the few counties that actually has 5-day-a-week Meals on Wheels where the meals are actually cooked on site. Most centers, like in Rutland, they get Tuesday and Thursday meals. It's twice a week, and they're brought in. And so, yeah, we are really fortunate, and it's not something that we want to lose. And I did see that 40-year-old had signed in on the bingo. I wondered about that.
They get a little testy, the older people.
I wasn't going to mention it. Thank you for sharing that.
I don't think there's an easy answer for this. I do know a lot of the older people are not happy having younger people mixed into the crowd. And another thing, the silver sneakers we used to do, that's offered over at the rec center now, but you have to be a member. And I used to be able to go up there and have it for free, but now I would have to pay a yearly fee to go over there and have it.
Well, and that's a great point, because one of the things that, in talking with Coalition on Council on Aging, they have a lot of programming, they have a lot of they have access to funding, and they have a lot of ideas. And so they, you know, again, it's an underutilized asset. So, you know, as we move forward, I think we're going to be looking much more broadly at what's possible. So that's good. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. All right. Oh, yes. Please come up and introduce yourself.
I'm Rose Telford. I live in North Bennington. I've been with the seniors quite a while. I am no longer volunteering. Headed up to here. I don't think there's really a lot that they do with the seniors. I mean, not like a big group. Mainly, like you said, bingo, and some of the other things. It's like a few here and a few there, because, like she said, you know, Carrie can't be answering the phone and trying to do whatever is, you know, running back and forth. So that, I think they need more, or have somebody to come in and do classes. They've had them before, like flower arranging and stuff like that, and it went over pretty big, actually. So it's I still think there's more stuff they can do and should do.
Great.
I also got a couple questions. If the children go to the splash pad, who's in charge of them?
Wait.
No,
Rose, it has to be on topic.
No, I'm just curious, and then I'll tell you why.
Why don't you just raise your questions? We're not going to have the discussion now, but go ahead. Raise your question.
Well, actually, who's in charge of the kids?
It's a public park.
People that brings their kids there, are they in charge of their own kids?
Yes, it's a public park.
I'll tell you what, I seen something the other day that made me very confused.
Stop.
No, I'm serious. You want to hear it. Because I see a guy actually grab a child by the back of their shirt, because he was going underneath the fence, and that scared the hell out of me. You know?
Okay.
And also, when they were closing off part of the street where the senior citizen is.
Pleasant Street, yeah, Pleasant Street.
They were working on the street. I have never in my life, and I have a dirty mouth, and I'm not afraid to admit it, but no, seriously, it's something you need to hear.
Rose, I've heard it, and what I'm going to ask you to do is, that is a private matter. Please do not air this.
It's involved with the town,
Please,
so why can't it be a private matter?
This is a private matter, and it's already been reported. All right, please do not.
It needs to be a
Please
lot
do
more
not go
than-
there, Rose.
No,
Please do not go there.
If you heard the language.
Please do not go there. It has been reported. Okay? All right, so thank you. Thank you. And I do want to say.
They better watch who they hire.
Okay,
Because that
yep,
was-
yep,
that
okay.
was sickening.
Thank you. All right, and I think to staff question about Rutland Adult Center has one staff person. So, yep.
One last point in the manager's report. We have and I gave you folks the memorandum on it, we have 2 highway discontinuances that we need to consider if you agree. One is the entrance to the elderly, it's no longer elderly housing, but mixed housing project Brookside. It's really the driveway that comes in. It was made a public highway when the permit was originally granted for the construction. Now E911 is telling us we would need to have a separate E911 address for each of the units in the building, which would create, I believe, chaos for those folks who live there. chaos for our staff to try to come up with the appropriate addresses. I've talked with Sharon Brush and the Housing Authority. They have no objection to our discontinuing that as a highway. And I've offered to provide assistance in maintenance. They currently plow it, so we don't even do that. They are fine with it. The second is a highway called the Foothills, which was turned into a public highway, Town Highway 29, by the Select Board back when it was first subdivided into 3 lots. Sometime subsequent to that, an individual bought all 3 lots and merged them, but the town never discontinued the highway. It is 25 foot in width, doesn't even meet the standard for town public highways. We do not maintain it. It has been maintained by the private property owner for all this time. I have talked with the current owner. They do not object to our discontinuing this roadway. The state brought this to my attention. I was not aware that this highway even existed. Happened, if you can believe it, before my time. But it was one of the, I think it was one of those things where the Select Board was working with a developer to create a road into a subdivision that ultimately did not end up being a subdivision and just a single lot. So with your permission, we need 30 days notice. I need to notify all the adjoining property owners. So we have some work to do to get a hearing set up, but it'll probably be sometime in late October, early November before we consider these things at a public
So
hearing.
is it just, does anyone have an objection? Is that what you need to hear from us?
That's what I need.
Anyone have an objection? All right, go for it.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay,
And
great.
that's all I've got. Although I should probably say for the record that we are incredibly close on the Morgan Spring delivery system relocation. I am working with one vendor on the financing. The contractor has been incredibly cooperative as far as allowing us to work out the agreement. They would like to start the construction this year. It is Kinsella Construction. They have their machinery and equipment in the community. They don't want to break down and take it all away and then have to try to bring it back. So they are anxious to get going. They have, as I said, they've been incredibly cooperative. And so I'm hoping that we'll have a deal in place by September 13th.
And it's going to be for 2 spigots, right?
That's yes, I believe the plans call for 2.
So we'll effectively double our money.
Well, the hours will be as the Development Review Board has provided. Entrance will only be off 279 down Route 9 to the site and back out. So it really depends on, I think, the aggressiveness of the vendors to get their trucks in there. We'll determine how much. But our preliminary agreement is that they will pay what we are now being paid, and they will recover their funds from what we would have increased the cost in a new negotiated agreement.
Great.
So once the expenses are covered of the construction, will then there be an increase?
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, our current contract with our current vendor expires January 3rd, 2023. So we really have essentially this construction season and next to get this done.
And that feels okay? That feels like enough time?
They're talking about a 5-month construction period.
Excellent.
We may have it done by December.
Okay.
We may. That's a big may.
This December?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions for Stuart on the manager's report? No? All right. So upcoming agendas. So what I know is we have Dr. Dobson with us. We'll have a second reading of Code of Conduct.
Yes.
Anything, Stuart, is there anything on our
I
tickler?
have nothing on the radar right now.
All right, this is a little scary. Okay, and good. All right, So other business. Bruce, anything?
No.
Jim?
I'd just like to thank the fire department for a wonderful, although abbreviated,
I would just like to preemptively thank the community members who live here for their patience concerning the road construction projects that are in progress. I'm sure they lost a little bit of time because they're going to have to do a lot of cleanup after Henri moves out. So I was driving here and just looking at all the gravel and stones that are not where they're supposed to be. So anyway, it's going to be a couple days of backpedaling, so we all need to be patient.
Tom?
Not today.
Okay. Gary?
Yeah, just a quick update on the Energizer.
Oh, sure. Yes, thank you.
Camoin has delivered their information to BCRC. BCRC is working through that, should have a draft report by Labor Day.
And that draft report will be, will concern what? Is this the housing study?
Well, the whole study.
Okay, super. On the Energizer plant. Excellent. And will there be a public presentation? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay, all right, so you'll keep us informed. That's great, thank you. And I just want to remind people that Wednesday at 2 o'clock, the Head Start is having a ribbon cutting at the Spring Center, co-located with the Rec Center, or what is now the Bennington Community Center. Everyone is invited, right? You can go and tour, and there'll probably be refreshments. It'll be outdoors and indoors, and it'll be great. All right. Now, we have need for an executive session to discuss contracts. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
And we will not be.
And we will not, thank you, and we will not be making a decision coming out.
We won't be coming out and making it.
Did you just move it?
yes.
Second.
Okay, all right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Any abstentions? Great. Okay. So thank you, Cat TV. Thank you, community members, for coming tonight. And we will take a 2-minute break, right, while we do this? Okay.